Hello students, warm greetings to all. Let's go through the rest part of your fourth unit, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest, written by Vandana Shiva. Now, I am going to remind you people what I taught you the other day. In our previous class, what did we get to see? Is that the writer Vandana Shiva narrates how she learned the basic principles of ecology. She says her study of ecology began in the forests of Himalaya because her father was a forest conservator, one who took care of it. And her mother was a farmer when the tragic partition that took place in between the two countries, India and Pakistan. Before the division was made in between Pakistan and India, Vandana Shiva's mother lived her life in Lahore, which later became the part of Pakistan after the partition was made. Later, the mother of Vandana Shiva came to India and settled down and turned into a farmer. This homely environment that our Vandana Shiva had in her home assisted her a lot to know about the ecology. And the knowledge that our Vandana Shiva gained about ecology was from the forests of Himalaya and the ecosystems. Whatever she knew, that was derived from the forests of Himalaya and the ecosystems. And the mother of Vandana Shiva used to write songs and poems only for her children, including our Vandana Shiva, were about the trees, forests, and India's forest civilizations. All these things aided or assisted our Vandana Shiva to get to know what ecology is. And later, Vandana Shiva moved on to the history of Chipko movement, which took place in Indian history. Vandana Shiva involved in the modern day ecology movement, which began with the Chipko movement. Vandana Shiva defined Chipko movement as a non-violent response or an action using no bloodshed or without having any harmful deeds to the people. This Chipko movement was held against the deforestation, which means the meaning that is associated with the deforestation is that it is an act of cutting or burning the forest. Is called deforestation. In response to the deforestation that occurred in the region of Garhwal and its surroundings and the Himalayan regions, many group of illiterate women came out of their home in the protection of the forests by hugging the trees. This is what we call Chipko movement. It was a non-violence response, which means this was achieved. Chipko movement was achieved by our illiterate women of Garhwal and its surroundings using no violence. To the large scale deforestation that ever took place in the forests of Himalaya, especially this action or response that took place in the Himalayan region where our Vandana Shiva lived her life. Later, Vandana Shiva carries her readers to the 1970s decade where she observed the peasant women who were very illiterate, one who couldn't read and write, came out of their home in the protection of the forest. This is an instance for the Chipko movement where they used the non-violence by hugging the trees. The peasant woman from Vandana Shiva's region in Garhwal, Himalaya, all those women came out of their own in the defense of or in the forest of, in the protest of these forests. This logging or cutting of the trees or deforestation that had resulted in many things that caused or did so much of harm to the people and to the cattle and to many living creatures as well. Let's see what was told to us by Vandana Shiva. Cutting of trees in the forests caused many problems. There were landslides. The soil which is on the surface of the earth moves away from its place where it is found. This is what we call landslides. And further, the effect of logging is it the floods. It can also cause floods. That's what we call the overflow of the level of water and scarcity of water. The people had to face the scarcity or lack of drinking water when we found no forests appearing surrounding us, and fodder and food for the cattle and for the domestic animals couldn't also be seen when the forests disappeared by the people after cutting them. And fuel, which means oil. The existence of oil is also based on these trees. By the rotten trees and its trees and their leaves are used to manufacture the oil or produce the oil. But when these trees in the forests disappear, the human beings had to face the lack of oil. When all the women took the responsibility upon their shoulder to fulfill the basic requirements that their family needed, like drinking the water, or fetching the firewood from the forests, or all these, the basic necessities of the human beings. When all these illiterate women took this responsibility upon their shoulder to fetch these things, fundamental things from the distant places, it could become a heavier burden to them. Because here, the usage of scarcity, as I used it earlier, stands for all these women, one who took the responsibility upon their shoulder, had to walk for longer distance to fetch or bring the drinking water and the firewood that their family or home needed, which became a heavier burden to them. And further, we came across all these group of women, though they were illiterate, came to know about the real value of the forests. What did they get to know about the real value of the forests is that they were aware of the fact that the advantage that they got from the forest was not actually the timber or the firewood from a dead tree. But in contrast to the above statement, what was actually known to them as the real value of the forest is that the forests always give the people springs where human beings and other living species can live their life very happily and lovely in the spring season. And streams, it's a narrow flowing of water. The existence of streams rely upon the forests and food for their cattle and domestic animals were fed up using the grass that was available in the deserted land, and this also was not found in the deserted lands, and fuel for their hearts. This fuel, it is a substance or an oil that was not abundantly available to the people in the form of a firewood for their arts to produce their food. Hence, all these illiterate women declared that they would hug the trees. So, all the loggers, one who came to the forest, had to kill them before killing or cutting those trees which were the part of the forest. This necessitated all the loggers or cutters or officials to cut the women before killing these trees. This is how Chipko movement took place in Garhwal, Himalaya. Later, Vandana Shiva mentioned a folk song which was produced by the people of that region, that was popularly said by those people. What did it say is that these beautiful oaks and rhododendrons, I gave people the meaning of these words in our previous class. The beautiful oaks and rhododendrons gave the people cool water. So, these women requested the loggers or officials to not to cut the trees. We the people of this earth have the responsibility to keep all these trees all alive. This is the point where I stopped teaching you people in our previous class. Let's make a move on from here. In 1973, I had gone to visit my favorite forest and swim in my favorite stream before leaving for Canada to do my PhD. Here, Vandana Shiva, what she is trying to tell her readers is that she took a decision to go to the Himalayan forests, which was her favorite one. She was very fascinated about the trees that were grown in the forests of Himalaya. So, when the time came to her, she took a decision to go to the forests of Himalaya, which were her favorite one, with whom she was very fascinated or attracted. In the year of 1973, this incident of going to visit the favorite streams, favorite forests of Himalaya, when did it happen is that in the year of 1973, she decided to go to visit her favorite forests which were found in Himalaya. And she wanted to swim in one of her favorite stream with which she was very fond of. She wanted to swim in it, in one of the stream. Before taking herself to go to Canada to do her PhD, she had to go to Canada to carry out her PhD, her further education. Before going for Canada to do her PhD, what she decided is that she wanted to go to the forests of Himalaya and swim there in one of her favorite stream with which she was very attracted. But what did she observe is that all the forests were gone. She observed or witnessed that all the forests which appeared surrounding Himalaya, all of them disappeared. Nowhere the forests were found. Everywhere she could observe the deserted land except the forests. After cutting the trees in the forests of Himalaya by the loggers, this was keenly observed by our Vandana Shiva. This was the incident which influenced our Vandana Shiva a lot after witnessing the disappearance of these forests in the Himalayan region. And even the stream was reduced to a trickle. Earlier in our previous class, we came to know that the existence of the trees in the forest make the stream to flow in a narrow way. But these streams which appear in the region of Himalaya, even they became very smaller. That's what we call reduced. Even the narrow flowing of water in the form of a stream became very smaller to a trickle. To a trickle in the sense of all those streams who were in the forests of Himalaya went flowing very slowly. That's what we call trickle. All these streams go slowly. This is what we call trickle. I decided to become a volunteer for the Chipko movement. After being influenced by these things, our Vandana Shiva took a decision to become a volunteer, which means volunteer means without being forced by anyone else, without being imposed by anyone or influenced by anyone. Vandana Shiva took a decision to become a volunteer. She willingly came forward to take her involvement in the Chipko movement along with the illiterate women who were seen earlier in the Garbal Himalaya, one who came out of their home in the protection of the forests using non-violence. This was observed by us when I gave you people a definition about this Chipko movement. In this way, our writer Vandana Shiva became a volunteer, being forced by no one, became a part of the Chipko movement, and I spent every vacation doing Padayatras. And later, what do we get to see is that she spent every vacation doing Padayatras. Whenever she gets the leisure time, whenever she is available, whenever she gets a free scheduled time, she does Padayatras, which means walking pilgrimages to go to holy places. Pilgrimages, in a sense, it's a journey. Actually, this going to a holy places is a kind of journey to a holy places. That's what we call pilgrimages. Whenever the time that allows our Vandana Shiva, after getting a vacation or leisure time, whenever she was very free, having no schedule in her, she did her best thing by doing Padayatras. She used to walk for miles to go to our pilgrimages, to our holy places. This is what we call pilgrimages. While going through these Padayatras, what she did is that she documented the deforestation. Wherever she had gone on her path or way, she recorded the deforestation where she observed it. Everywhere it happened in a large scale. This deforestation at the age of Vandana Shiva's living, this deforestation took place in a very large scale. This was documented by our Vandana Shiva when she had gone doing her Padayatras. And the work of the forest activates in a sense a person, one who involves in taking care of the forest is called a forest activates, one who actively participates in a certain action is called activists, one who actively participates. These some persons who actively participate in protecting the forests, their actions are observed by our Vandana Shiva when she had gone through her Padayatras. She documented the works of these workers or activists in her documentary and spreading the message of Chipko on her way to the Padayatra. She spread the message of the Chipko movement. The necessity of conducting the Chipko movement was spread by our Vandana Shiva when she had gone doing her Padayatras. Let's make a move on to our next slide. One of the dramatic Chipko actions took place in the Himalayan village of Advani in 1997. And here, one particular Chipko action took place in the village, called it as Advani in the year of 1977. Here, we the readers of this lesson are now, we the readers of this lesson now can come to know the Chipko, one of the dramatic Chipko movement, which means this Chipko movement, which means the Chipko movement which I am speaking about right now is one of the dramatic Chipko movement which was very impressive, or the movement which attracted the attention of the people. It was such a movement. This Chipko movement, which was very impressive in nature, one of the Chipko movement ever took place in the Himalayan village, called it as Advani. Keep this all alive in our mind. The name of the village is Advani. This happened in the year of 1977. When a village woman named Bachni Devi, in this dramatic Chipko movement, there was a woman, one who played a vital role in making it a Chipko movement as an impressive one. Her name was Bachni Devi. She was a village woman, one who belonged to the village called it as Advani. Bachni Devi, she led a resistance, which means she opposed. She resisted. She showed her anger, her arrogance. Against whom? It's not. Against her own husband. It was none other than her own husband. Even though she had an intimate relationship with her husband, she gave no value even at her husband. After knowing the value of the forest, though she was an illiterate woman, she opposed her own husband, one who had obtained a contract to cut the trees. What did her husband do is that her own husband got a contract, which means it's a legal agreement by the government. He got the legal agreement by the government to cut the trees. This action of her husband made her to stand against her own husband and showed her anger over him by opposing his actions. When the officials arrived at forest, the woman held up lighted lanterns. Meanwhile, the officials who are assigned to carry out some actions in a certain department came to a forest to cut the trees. Why had they come to the forest? Only to cut the trees. All the officials had come to the forest. At this moment, the illiterate woman held their lighted lanterns. They held many lighted lanterns, in a sense lamps. Many lamps were held up in their hands above their head in the form of protection, even though it was a broad daylight. Actually, the moment when all these women held up these lighted lanterns, it was a broad day. It was a daytime. Though they held all these lighted lamps up above their heads, only to show their opposition against these officials not to cut the trees in the form of a revolt or a movement. It's not a revolt actually, it's a movement. In the form of a movement, all these women held up their lighted lanterns above their heads, though it was a daytime. The forester asked them to explain. The forester, one who came to cut the trees to the forest, asked these illiterate women why were they doing so? Why were they holding those lighted lanterns up above their head? He asked this question to the group of women. All the women replied, the forester, they have come to teach you forestry. Forestry, it is a science of planting or nurturing the trees in the forest. That's what we call forestry. It is a science of planting or nurturing it or taking care of it. Taking care of the trees is called a forestry. Why have all those women come to the forest holding their lighted lanterns or lamps up above their head? Is that only to teach a lesson to the forester about the forestry. With the intention of teaching forestry, all these women have gone to the forest holding their lamps up above their heads. He retorted, he became very frustrated, which means he replied those women very quickly in an arrogant manner to their comment. Earlier, we came to know that when all the women replied this officer saying that we have come to teach you forestry, after listening to the words of women, the forester retorted or replied very quickly to the comments of the woman in an arrogant manner. This is what we call retorted. Hey, you foolish woman! He admonished them, he scolded them very much using you foolish woman, which means the people who lack sense. In other words, we can call foolish as a stupid one. You stupid one or foolish one. He scolded them like this. You foolish woman, how can you prevent tree felling by those who know the value of the forests? We the people, we the officials, know the real value of the forests. How can you people can prevent us by cutting these trees? From cutting these trees, how can you people stop us? And here, this is what the forester asked these group of women a question like this: how can all of you stop us from cutting the trees, but who know the real value of the forest? We are here only to cut these trees. After knowing the value or worth of these forests, we have the intention of cutting these trees. We know the value of the forest. That's why we are here. This is what the forester asked in the form, asked this group of women this question, and further asked them another question: do you know what forests bear? Bear in the sense of produce. Do you people know what can these forests produce? Certainly, we know the fact that forests can produce many things. There are many advantages that we the people of this earth getting from those forests. So, this forester asked them this question: do you people know what do these forests produce? They produce. He tells them an answer. That is, they produce profit, resin and timber. From these forests, we can get a profit. We can gain in the form of money out of these forests. In such a way, we the people are the beneficiary from these forests after cutting them. And resin, which means it is a kind of yellow or brownish colored gum which is used for making a paint or varnish. This is what we call resin. It's a kind of a yellow or brownish colored gum. And finally, we can get the timber or firewood that the human beings need for their survival. Certainly, we the people need these timbers for our survival, to carry or lead our life very comfortably. These are the advantages that all the people have got from these trees. This is said by the forester to all the women. After listening to the words of the forester, the group of illiterate women sang back in chorus. Chorus in a sense, group of singers. Group of singers. All these women stood in a group and started singing a song. All these women sang a song back at the forester, in the form of response, as he told them an answer about what do forests bear. They produce profit, resin and timber. In the form of a song, all these women sang it in a group. How it was sung is that what? How it's sung is that what do forests bear? And here we can see the same question as it was asked earlier by the forester to the group of women. These illiterate women asked a same question: what do the forests produce? What are the advantages that the human beings, that we the human beings get from these forests. That is, they put themselves in a position to give the forest an enhancer over here, the soil. What do we get is that out of the forests is that forests always produce a soil. It can take the grip of the soil from the surface of the earth. It can retain, which means the roots of the forest can take the grip of the soil from the surface of the earth and water. Forests produce us enough water to drink or to consume it to our daily needs. And pure air. We can also obviously get the pure air. The wind that is blown surrounding us is very pure when forests appear around us. So, they produce the same line in the third line too, as it is seen in the second line. Soil, water and pure air. This implies that using of the same line as it appears in the second line as well as in the third line, it says us that much of the emphasis is on soil, water and pure air. That is what is produced by the forests. Sustain the earth and all that she bears, which means sustain the earth. Sustain in a sense provide something enough what is needed for the existence. To exist on this earth, we need something to live. To provide something to live, it is given by only this forest. Given by these forests. The existence of the human beings is only possible by the forests. The sustenance of the human beings and other living creatures can be made possible only by the forests. And even the earth. Earth can also exist only after the appearance of the forests and all that she bears. These are all the things that she in a sense, the forest produces always. Bears in a sense, produces. These are all the things that forest always produces. This is what we see in this present context of this paragraph. Let's go on to the another paragraph. What do we see here is that here we have the another concept to see, that is beyond monoculture. Monoculture in the sense it is a practice of single farming in a certain area in a year. It is a single cropping or farming, growing up a single crop in a year is called monoculture. Only especially our Indian people grow only a type of crop in a certain area. This is what we call monoculture. In a particular year, in a certain year, the group, the indigenous people grow only one type of crop in a single year. This is what we call monoculture. Beyond that, in a sense, there is a possibility of growing more than one crop in a year. We have to think over it. Beyond this monoculture, there are also possibilities of growing varieties of crops in a single year. In the following lines, we can come to know how can we think over this concept of monoculture and its beyond. Beyond the extension of monoculture, we can grow varieties of crops in a year. And in the following lines, this is described by our Vandana Shiva here. Let's make a move. Here from Chipko, I learned about biodiversity. I told you people in our previous class that biodiversity is a circumstance in which all the living species live their life to make a balanced life, or what we call to create a balanced environment. In it, all sorts of or kinds of living creatures can live. This is what we call the biodiversity. We can see varieties of living creatures live their life with cooperation, mutual givings, and so on and so on. Our Vandana Shiva, she learned many lessons, especially about biodiversity. How to maintain the biodiversity in our surrounding nature is learned by our Vandana Shiva only from the Chipko movement. After taking her involvement in the Chipko movement with the uneducated women of Garhwal and its surroundings, our Vandana Shiva came to know many things, including biodiversity. She learned especially about this biodiversity, how to maintain it, how we the people keep it all alive ever. Is learned by our Vandana Shiva by the Chipko movement after taking her involvement in it. Biodiversity based living economies. Here and further, she came to know the biodiversity based living economies. Here we need to get to know what is meant by economies. Economies is not the money, not only the money that we get. It goes further beyond your thinking of limitation of thinking. What does it tell us is that here economics refers to the resources that are available in the forests. This is what is learned by our Vandana Shiva. Not only she came to know about the biodiversity, she also came to know biodiversity based living economies, biodiversity friendly, but relied upon the biodiversity. There are plenty of things available in the forest. Those sources must necessarily be used by the human beings. And here certainly a question that gets risen by us, that is how can we efficiently use these economies or resources that are available in the forest. We can certainly use those resources which are available in the forest in the most efficient manner. This is how she came to know about biodiversity and biodiversity based living economies. The protection of both has become my life's mission since then, which means when Vandana Shiva came to know about biodiversity and biodiversity based living economies, how to get used all of those resources that are available in the forests. Since then, protecting of biodiversity and biodiversity living economies became her mission or aim or her target. Giving a protection to these two aspects of biodiversity and biodiversity based living economies, both of them became her life's mission. As I described in my book Monocultures of the Mind. You people, after having seen the one of the book of Vandana Shiva titled Monocultures of the Mind, needs to be kept in your mind all alive. It might be asked in your upcoming examination for 1 mark. As I described in my book, she described something in one of her book which was written by Vandana Shiva, titled Monocultures of the Mind. The name of the book, which was composed by Vandana Shiva, was titled as Monocultures of the Mind. What was written in the Monocultures of the Mind is that the failure to understand biodiversity. We aware of the fact that we the people fail to understand the biodiversity. Today, we the people, even though we are the part of this earth, certainly fail to understand the biodiversity. We do not know the importance and advantages of the forests and the environment in which we live our life. So, what our Vandana Shiva is trying to tell her readers is that we the people fail to understand or get to know about the biodiversity and its importance, where all the living creatures can live their life having coordination and mutual givings among themselves, and its many functions as well. And here what do we get to see is that biodiversity can work, which means it functions, and its biodiversity functions are there. There are many functions exercised by the biodiversity. As I told people earlier, when we can get to see the biodiversity, we can observe the existence of all the living creatures, where they can live their life very happily, lively, very comfortably, with a mutual giving. And we the people fail to understand or get to know about the importance of the biodiversity in which all the animals and plants exist or live their lives. We the people fail to understand it and its many functions. And the many functions of biodiversity are not known to us, is at the root of the impoverishment of nature and culture. Impoverishment in the sense of making something poor. We the people of India make our culture a poor one in following it, and the nature as well. The nature which surrounds us becomes very poor after demolishing it. Only for our convenience, we the people of this earth use all the available nature only for our advantage. So, when we start making our nature and culture very poor, biodiversity and its functions are not known to us. We, the people, that is the point where we the people commit a mistake in understanding the advantage of biodiversity and its functions. It always lies at the root where we can make our nature and culture very poor. When we make our nature and culture very poor, there at this certain point, we the people fail to understand it. The lessons that I learned about diversity in the Himalayan forests, I transferred to the protection of biodiversity on our farms. Here, what we get to see is that some of the lessons are learned by our Vandana Shiva. Whatever she got to know about diversity in a sense, the varieties of living organisms or living animals or plants live their life. This is what we call diversity. Whatever our Vandana Shiva got to know about the diversity, especially in the Himalayan forests. In the initial part of this lesson, we came to know that whatever our Vandana Shiva got to know about the ecology and the ecosystem and the diversity and biodiversity, everything was derived from the Himalayan forests. And whatever the lesson were known to our Vandana Shiva about this about this diversity, later all of them were transferred to the protection of biodiversity on our farms. And here we need to observe something more. We need to observe something important, that is, here we can get to see one of the forum that was established by our Vandana Shiva, that was purchased or bought by our Vandana Shiva to do something, to carry out our actions on one of our farms. And here the lessons that were learned by Vandana Shiva, all of them were transferred, all of them were converted to what? To the protection, only to protect the biodiversity, only to keep alive the biodiversity, only for the sustenance of the biodiversity. All the lessons were transferred or converted by our Vandana Shiva. All the knowledge that was gained by our Vandana Shiva was invested to protect the biodiversity on our farms, which means all our ideas are put on our farms after coming to know about the diversity, only to protect biodiversity. So she started saving seeds from the farmers' fields. When she had her own farm or a piece of land where she exercised many things only to protect the biodiversity, only to maintain the biodiversity, only to create the biodiversity, only to grow the varieties of crops in it. What she did is that she started saving the seeds. She started accumulating seeds. She had borrowed seeds from farmers' fields. Directly she had gone to the fields or farms of the farmers. After going out there, she came back with the seeds and accumulated them and later saved them. And then realized we needed a farm for demonstration and training. After collecting those seeds directly from the farmers' fields, she came to know the fact that she required a piece of land to be bought only to conduct demonstration or an exhibition and training. In the training, the people can be a skilled worker where they can get a training. Here, demonstrations are to be conducted by our Vandana Shiva only to show the varieties of crops to the people or for the farmers, only to protect biodiversity. She found herself to tell the farmers that you had to save the biodiversity by growing varieties of crops. So she came to know that she realized herself that she required a piece of land for the exhibition, to conduct the exhibition publicly and to the training as well. Thus, Navdanya farm was started in 1994 in the Doon Valley. Here, you need to remember one point. Wanted to protect the biodiversity, she needed a farm. So, what Vandana Shiva did is that she started Navdanya farm. She found one of the piece of land and named it as a Navdanya farm, which was established by our Vandana Shiva. It was started in the year of 1994, located at Doon Valley. It was found, this Navdanya farm was found in the Doon Valley, located in the lower elevation Himalayan region of Uttarakhand province. Here, where was this Navdanya farm located is that in the lower elevation in the sense, that's what we call, it is the position or an height from the lower position, that's what we call, it is a piece of ground which is higher than that of a surface of the earth. That's what we call elevation. From the surface of the level to a higher level. This is what we call higher elevation. Higher Himalayan region. From the bottom of the Himalaya, when it goes onto a higher position, which means the elevation, this Navdanya farm was built, or this was found, this was situated, this Navdanya farm was situated at the elevation Himalayan region, especially it is found especially at the Uttarakhand state or province. Province can also be called as a state. Uttarakhand state. This Navdanya farm was started by Vandana Shiva. Today we conserve. After establishing this Navdanya farm, what all the participants of this farm did, their job is that they conserve, which means they save, they protect the varieties of, let's see what kinds of varieties are they. They start saving and grow 630 varieties of rice. What they conserve, what they say is that, including our Vandana Shiva, all the participants start saving 630 varieties of rice on the form of Navdanya and 150 varieties of wheat, along with the varieties, 630 varieties of rice. What was ground is that 150 varieties of wheat are also ground, and hundreds of other species and hundreds of other interbreeds were also grown on this Navdanya farm, only to protect the biodiversity. This is how we can keep all alive the biodiversity, where we can grow hundreds of thousands of varieties of crops on a piece of land. We practice, which means we the people, in a sense including our Vandana Shiva, many participants, one who indulge or one who involve themselves on this Navdanya farm, they practice in a sense, they do many exercises on this Navdanya farm and promote a biodiversity intensive form of farming that produces more food and nutrition per hectare, and promote a biodiversity intensive farm, which means here all these participants, including our Vandana Shiva take the proportion of the varieties of crops to a higher position. That is what we call promote. The varieties of crops are taken to a higher position. Promote the biodiversity intensive farm, which means all of them, including our Vandana Shiva, aimed at producing more food. That's what we call intensive farming. All of them aimed or targeted at producing as much food as possible. This is what we call intensive farming. All of them. It should be based on the biodiversity. Already we came to know about it. This is how it was kept all alive. Biodiversity was kept all alive. After the establishment of this biodiversity and this intensive form of farming which produces more food. And here, after running this intensive form of farming that produces more food after growing varieties of crops on this Navdanya farm. Along with that, it produces a nutrition which would help the human beings to grow their physique. Certainly, here we come to know that nutrition can provide the human beings to grow physically. So, it was very helpful to our farmers and our writer as well. After promoting a biodiversity intensive farm, they produce more food than they expected and nutrition per acre. The conservation of biodiversity is therefore the answer to the food and nutrition crisis. And here, you people might have heard or read on your TV or on newspaper that many of the people around us, one who live their lives, are dying from starvation, having no food. So, this is one of the crises that the human beings are still facing, even we are in the modernized world. So, after discovering or after growing 630 varieties of crops, 150 varieties of weeds, this conservation or saving up of this biodiversity becomes an answer for the food and nutrition crisis in the India. Navdanya, a movement for movement for biodiversity and conservation and organic farm that I started in 1987. And here, Navdanya, already we came to know that it was one of the movement for biodiversity conservation, only to protect or save the seeds or save the crops or to grow them on the Navdanya farm. It was established with the intention of saving the seeds and growing the crops. This Navdanya farm was established by our Vandana Shiva. It was one of the movement only to keep the biodiversity alive. And organic farm that I started in 1987 is spreading. Here, organic farming is a method of farming where we can use no chemicals, artificial chemicals. Here in the organic farming, human beings can use no chemicals at all. She started it in 1987. That is spreading among the people in our surrounding nature. So far, we have worked with farmers to set up more than 100 community seeds banks across India. At every nook and corner of India, Vandana Shiva and many participants, one who take their involvement on this Navadanya form, established 100 community seed banks which provide the farmers seeds across India. Everywhere, from one part to another, from one part of the country to another part of the country, all these seeds banks are available. We have saved more than 3,000 rice varieties. Totally, all these participants of Navadanya farm protected or conserved around 3,000 varieties of crops on the Navadanya farm. We also help farmers to make a transition from fossil fuel and chemical based monocultures to biodiverse ecological systems nourished by the sun and the soil. Here, what do we get to see is that all these participants of this Navadanya farm, including our Vandana Shiva, assist or help the farmers, one who carry the agricultural works on their piece of lands. And they, what did they help the farmers is that to bring some changes or transitions from the fossil fuel in the sense from it is fossil fuel in the sense such as the oil from the rotten animals and the plants. The oil that we get from the rotten animals and plants is called a fossil fuel. It was the procedure from which we get the oil earlier. And from this situation, Vandana Shiva wanted to bring some changes in it. So, Vandana Shiva and other participants helped the farmers to bring the transition or changes from the fossil fuel or chemical based monocultures. And earlier, majority of the farmers or agricultural workers across India use chemicals to grow their crops. To escape from this situation, many farmers and our Vandana Shiva help the farmers to escape or bring some changes in this situation. To escape from the chemical based monoculture. To what? To our biodiverse ecological systems. To the ecological systems where the farmers or agricultural workers in India can do their cultivation using the organic farming, which can be helpful to the sustenance of the ecosystem in our surrounding. Nourished by the sun and the soil. This is nurtured, this is grown up only by the sun and soil. With the help of the illumination of the light of the sun and the soil, the prolific nature of the soil and the illumination of the light of the sun help the farmers to bring some changes in the fossil fuel and chemical based towards the biodiverse ecological systems. Thus, biodiversity has been my teacher of abundance, freedom and of cooperation and mutual giving. Finally, Vandana Shiva concludes the concept of monoculture beyond monocultures, saying that biodiversity becomes our teacher which has taught her a lesson, many things, how to protect the biodiversity on the farm like Navadanya. That becomes one of the teacher of abundance. It has taught biodiversity as it taught Vandana Shiva about the abundance. Abundance in the sense, this is what we call abundance in the sense of enoughness. And in the biodiversity, what she learned is that she learned about the enoughness, where she could grow 600 varieties of rice and 150 varieties of wheat in the same crop. This brings enoughness or an abundance and freedom. This biodiversity taught our Vandana Shiva about the freedom where all the living organisms including the animals and plants give respect to each other and give freedom to each other where they can walk and live their life very freely. Only in the biodiversity and of cooperation. And here from one to another the help which means cooperation in the sense that's what we call the help from whom we get, again it is given to the another person, which means the active help from the another person. When we need a help from the another, certainly we can get the help from the another person. That is what we call the cooperation. This is taught by the biodiversity to our Vandana Shiva. Finally, the mutual giving among all the creatures of the biodiversity, living creatures of the biodiversity, the concept of mutual giving can only be seen. These are the lessons are taught to our Vandana Shiva by the biodiversity. Dear students, let us stop over here. I thank you all for listening to me all through the way. Thank you.